You guys remember when everybody in the community lost their shit over Monster Reborn coming back? Yeah, I do. You guys remember Solemn Judgment and the implications and excitement that the community felt? Well, you weren't the only ones that were a little bit shocked to see those two cards come back. And recently, well, more or less, a little bit. It's been, what, a month now since we've had these cards returning to the game. And I wanted to do a discussion on people being happy that they're back and other people are like, eh. So let's roll into that discussion, shall we? Don't you guys love me? Alright, so Monster Reborn and Judgment have been here, give or take, a month now. And we've seen, I'm not going to directly say it, but Monster Reborn and Judgment returning to the game, there's something about these two iconic cards that tends to draw more players to events. And it's kind of weird, because you wouldn't, I don't know if it's just the nostalgia factor. It's like, oh hey, like, my childhood favorite is back. I kind of feel like it's kind of got to do with that Blue Eyes feeling, you know, like all these players that love Blue Eyes White Dragon with a passion, and when Blue Eyes and Dark Magician got all of their support, you know, all of these new players flocked to the game, and we have our fair share of, I think it's 3 Blue Eyes players, locals. They love the deck, they swear by the deck, they're like, it's the best thing ever, but, you know, it's because of the support that, I'm not going to say drives the casual player base, because it's kind of that, but it's not really that. But if you give these players, the old school players, something to strive for, something that they desire, then you'll get them to return to the game. And I think that Monster Reborn and Judgment were kind of just that. Now, I might be giving Konami too much credit here. Ho, ho, ho. I wish I could do Freeze's laugh. Might be giving them too much credit here. But you brought back 2 of the most powerful cards in the game's history. You presented them on the table, and they're kind of shit now. Monster Reborn, it's still very much a power card. We've seen it, but the only real thing you're doing with it is you're probably Monster Reborning a Borolo Dragon and laughing at your opponent. I'm not gonna... Sometimes Monster Reborn... I had to think about how I want to say that. Sometimes Monster Reborn feels like a win more card, which it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a card that can be utilized in so many ways. I gotta give it up to Monster Reborn, much as the Water God himself does. If only I could water bend. Monster Reborn is a multifunctional card that acts as a gateway extender, so to say. And trust me, your opponent can still top deck it on you and shit on your fucking day. Because it's just what happens when Monster Reborn's around. Now, initially a lot of people were like, oh, you know, like, Pendulum Magician's the best deck in the format. Pendulum Magician isn't going to use it. There's no real point. Well, ho ho ho, Monster Reborn on Electromite is pretty good. I definitely didn't think about that myself. I forgot about Link monsters existing. It's kind of ironic. You think about something for so long, and you kind of blank on it. You're like, what do you mean that exists? Like, oh shit, it does, you know. Same thing with Saruja basically being a Firewall Dragon, especially someone from the hand. Somebody that doesn't play all that often might forget about that. Special summoning a Game of Seal is pretty good. But we've reached an impasse in the game to where a lot of the old power cards, they're not as great anymore. We'll take Judgment into consideration next here. A card that denies your opponent any one card, except for some scenario in which you can't Judgment it, but those don't exist, right? You have a card that allows you to pay half of your life points for any one negation. And a lot of people... I've done... what was it? A couple years ago, we did some discussion videos on Solemn Judgment and how if you don't know how to play Solemn Judgment, Judgment is a card that will punish you. And I've been talking to my friend Bar about this. I give my friend Bar a lot of shit because he's one of the few people that really hasn't had the time to learn Solemn Judgment. And I always make fun of him because I'm like, hey man, like, you should judgment this. And he's like, oh, you're right, Robbie. And then he gets punished for it. And then we have to sit here, we have to look at the scenarios in which you should be solemn judgmenting. Now, when I look at solemn judgment as a card, the first thing I ask myself is the play my opponent is making right now going to be detrimental to me? Does it A, kill me? B, does it put me in a situation that I cannot physically recover from? If it's a situation that you can't recover from or you're going to lose, you're probably going to have to do something about that. Now, if it becomes detrimental and you have a slight way to recover, as long as your opponent doesn't have a stopper, use your judgment in a way that basically gives you a backup scenario to ensure that what play you're about to make sticks. Judgment's another really interesting card when you look at its design, though, from the old standpoint, because Judgment used to be you could throw it away and just not care and be rewarded for it, because there were times when there were 3 judgments. I bet you guys don't remember those days. But it's a card that you need to value it correctly, and I still don't know if a lot of people have that mentality towards Judgment or not, but I think if you can master Judgment or understand the situations that you need to be protecting yourself with Judgment a little bit better, I think that's probably the best solid advice I can give you. Don't judgment to judgment, because half of your life is very crucial, especially in today's day and age, where your opponent can just literally OTK you out of left field. You've got to put a little bit more value in your cards. Monster Reborning a Borlo Dragon probably is the best value you can get off of it. But remember, these old power cards exist for a reason. They were banned for a reason. They're very powerful within their own right, and Judgment at least is a double-edged sword, unlike Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is just literally free rewards everywhere, but Judgment has a cost to it, which I would almost say Judgment's fairer than Monster Reborn in its own way. Now, other power cards that I did make the statement earlier in this video where I said, most old power cards are very crazy, and I wanted to touch on Delinquent Duo here. So Delinquent Duo is a very interesting card. Outside of turn 1, that card is total fucking shit in my opinion. And I don't think we've seen a card return to the game that its immense value is only on turn 1. Being able to bop 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, very, very good resource. But here's the thing. If I go first, and in the current day and age, I make my board and I go, if I have 1 card in my hand, cool, yay, value. It's not as good. Now, if you draw that thing and you go first and you ruin your opponent's hand, your opponent can't functionally play the game. Duo is a very, very destructive card in that, right? But I think the hand disruption cards, their value has diminished over time, because we're not playing these grindy games that we used to in the old formats. And Newsletter, if you haven't played the game in the last quadrillion years, Yu-Gi-Oh! Shifted to a make a board turn 1. If your opponent breaks it, well, fuck diddly yuck, There's not really much you can do about that. It's just kind of the mentality that the TCG has developed. You guys remember the T set 1? Yeah. Those don't exist anymore. That should be a little bit... It was harder for a lot of people to kind of get used to that, like after Dragon Lore format kind of really set that in motion. You build your board and go. Things haven't been the same since 2012, sadly. But the game still continues to stride and evolve. And I think it's very important to look at the game as a whole, because the return of power cards in general, yeah, they're immensely broken. We know that. It's almost on the level of crazy bullshit some days. Just what Monster Reborn and stuff can do. I mean, top decking it. I love using the Borload reference, because that's the best scenario I've seen Monster Reborn be played with so far. Monster Reborn Borload, attack, steal your monster, lol, like what do you do? And then Judgment just prevents a board wipe and basically locks your scenario in. Like, you build a board, cool, Judgment, hold down your fort. It's not a lot of big difference there, but power cards, you gotta give and take a little bit to the community, and I definitely think the power cards had a little bit contributing back to a lot of players returning to the game in this block, because it might not seem it, but a lot of the old faces I've seen come back because Judgment's back and they can play stun. You wouldn't think it, but it's real. I'm actually kind of shocked myself. But do you guys think the return of Judgment and Reborn was a good thing for the game? Do you think it was a bad thing? Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. And honestly, that's all I've got for today, guys. I will see you on the flip side. Later, guys. The ride never ends, guys. Make sure you enable those notifications to get the latest videos that are being posted on this channel. Make sure you guys check out VanCole40 for my Cardfight Vanguard channel. And join me and House of Champions on the Zodiac Duelist TV Twitch stream. I will be interacting with our audiences. And please check out No Limit Gaming and LGTCG.com for the cheapest trading cards on the market. Thanks for watching, guys, and please have a good day.